In the sprawling urban landscape of Japan, beneath the shiny veneer of bustling city streets and neon lights, an entirely different world of music and culture thrives, quietly, defiantly, and often out of sight. Japan's underground music festivals are not your typical, mainstream weekend events. They are immersive gatherings that reject the polished images and commercial trappings of the official music scene. Instead, these festivals are raw, spontaneous, and deeply rooted in a culture of rebellion and community. They take place in places you wouldn't expect: abandoned warehouses, hidden forest clearings, disused rail yards, and even secret rooftop spaces in the city. Illegal or semi-legal by nature, these locations set the tone for an experience that feels more like stepping into a secret society than attending a conventional concert. The exact sites often shift from one year to the next, and word travels through underground networks and online communities with near-military precision, preserving the sense of mystery and exclusivity. What draws people to these events is not just the music itself, but the feeling of being part of something outside the mainstream. Attendees come from every corner of Japan and beyond, a vibrant mix of electronic music producers, punk rock fans, artists, dancers, and everyday people looking to break free from the pressures of conformity. Many are young adults who have grown up in a highly structured society where social roles and expectations are often rigidly defined. For them, these festivals provide a rare space to express individuality and forge genuine human connections. Others are longtime participants in Tokyo's or Osaka's underground scenes, seasoned veterans who have witnessed how the festivals evolve and persist despite constant challenges. This diversity of participants reflects the broad appeal of these gatherings, where music, art, and politics intersect. The acts on stage are as varied as the crowd itself. Experimental DJs shifting electronic landscapes, punk bands thrashing out loud resistance anthems, improvised noise artists creating chaotic soundscapes. These performances aren't polished for mass approval, but instead emphasize authenticity and spontaneity. The atmosphere is one of raw energy and creativity, fueled by shared understanding that this is a moment apart from everyday life, a kind of cultural refuge. More than just entertainment, these underground festivals embody a form of cultural rebellion. They resist the commercialization of music and the homogeneity of mass culture. They challenge traditional social norms by encouraging open self-expression and collective participation. The gatherings often run all night, with no tickets, no security lines, and no corporate sponsorship. Instead, they rely on a do-it-yourself ethic, with participants contributing everything from sound equipment to food, creating a self-sustaining ecosystem. It's in these unofficial, sometimes precarious spaces that a strong sense of community emerges. People share resources, ideas, and experiences, building bonds that extend beyond the music itself. In a society known for its formality and social restraint, these underground festivals offer a vital outlet, a space where freedom, creativity, and connection thrive in defiance of convention. The origins of Japan's underground music festivals can be traced back to the 1980s and 1990s, a time when Japan's mainstream music industry was rapidly expanding but also tightly controlled by major labels and commercial broadcasters. Many young musicians and fans who wanted to explore alternative sounds, whether punk, electronic, noise, or experimental rock, found themselves marginalized by this rigid system. Faced with limited access to traditional venues or media outlets, they began organizing their own events, often in unorthodox locations. Legal restrictions on noise and public gatherings, combined with mainland Japan's strict permits for live music performances, meant that these events had to operate on the fringes. Abandoned industrial buildings, unused factories, and remote rural spots became natural choices for DIY festivals. This underground approach was not just a response to external limitations, but also an expression of the DIY ethic imported from punk and indie movements abroad. Doing it yourself was about taking control, whether setting up sound equipment, building stages, or promoting shows through word of mouth and growing online networks. These grassroots initiatives shaped the very character of the festivals, promoting inclusivity, creativity, and resistance to commercialization. Musically, the festivals became a melting pot of genres that rarely found space in mainstream venues. Industrial noise, experimental electronic music, hardcore punk, and even avant-garde jazz flourished side by side. The connection between music and the venues themselves was tight. Industrial sounds felt at home in decaying factories, while psychedelic electronic sets echoed in dense forests or labyrinthine urban rooftops. Such eclecticism drew diverse audiences and fostered a cross-pollination of styles. Organizing these festivals depended heavily on local networks, tight-knit communities of musicians, artists, and activists who communicated through underground magazines, small clubs, independent record stores, and increasingly, online forums and social media platforms. These networks not only shared resources like sound systems and lighting, but also spread vital information about upcoming events. Because many gatherings skirted the boundaries of legality, announcements were often cryptic or distributed only through trusted contacts to avoid police scrutiny. Authorities posed a continuous challenge. Public safety concerns, noise complaints, and Japan's stringent laws on assembly led to repeated shutdowns and evictions. Police raids on unauthorized events were not uncommon, with organizers sometimes forced to disperse crowds quickly or lose valuable equipment. Local governments frequently pressured venue owners or landlords, leading to the loss of some important spaces. Societal expectations added another layer of difficulty. Japan's culture often emphasizes harmony, conformity, and respect for rules, so these festivals, with their loud music, unconventional lifestyles, and alternative values, could attract suspicion or disapproval from neighbors and officials alike. Participants were aware of these tensions, which sometimes heightened the sense of rebellion and strengthened communal bonds. Despite these obstacles, the persistence of underground festivals helped develop a robust infrastructure of alternative music culture in Japan. Over time, some once illegal gatherings gained recognition, evolving into celebrated annual events, even influencing the mainstream scene. However, at their core, these festivals remain rooted in the spirit of independence and resistance that propelled them forward decades ago. Japan's underground music festivals have left an unmistakable mark on youth culture and the wider music scene. For many young people, these festivals aren't just about music. They represent a form of cultural resistance and a space where individuality is celebrated amid a society often marked by conformity. The rebellious spirit at the heart of these gatherings challenges conventional norms, but it is balanced by a profound sense of community and shared values. This tension between freedom and regulation shapes much of the experience. On one hand, these festivals provide a sanctuary for free expression. The participants value authenticity above all else, favoring raw, unfiltered performances that contrast heavily with the polished productions of mainstream concerts. It's a place where someone experimenting with electronic soundscapes can share the stage with a punk band or a noise artist, the audience receptive to diverse, sometimes challenging styles. This openness fosters not only musical innovation, but also new social connections outside rigid social hierarchies. On the other hand, the underground nature of these events means that they exist in a constant struggle against legal and societal pressures. Authorities regularly clamp down on unauthorized gatherings due to noise complaints, safety concerns, and a need for permits. These pressures force organizers and attendees into a delicate balancing act, preserving the freedom central to the scene while trying to avoid conflicts that could endanger its future. Such clashes expose the ongoing tension in Japanese society between order and expression, conformity and rebellion. Yet, despite these risks, many festival goers describe a strong sense of belonging that extends beyond the event itself. This community support system often includes sharing equipment, pooling knowledge, and supporting newcomers eager to contribute. In a culture sometimes criticized for its social isolation, these spaces offer connections based on creative collaboration and mutual respect, allowing participants to build identities that extend past traditional roles. The influence of these underground festivals extends into Japan's broader music industry as well. Elements of the DIY ethic, the experimental sounds, and the prioritization of authenticity have gradually seeped into more mainstream music circles. Some artists who began in these alternative scenes have gained wider recognition, and independent labels inspired by the underground spirit have emerged. Though still operating largely at the cultural margins, these festivals have become incubators for Japan's evolving soundscape. Looking ahead, the future of Japan's underground music festivals remains uncertain. Increasing police scrutiny and local government regulations have made spontaneous gatherings more difficult to sustain. The pressures of urban development and stricter enforcement of noise ordinances threaten the availability of unconventional venues. Meanwhile, as social media platforms expand, organizers find both new channels to spread word and new challenges to maintain exclusivity and safety. Nonetheless, the enduring appeal of these gatherings lies in their cultural significance, as spaces where youth culture continues to resist rigid social norms, where music and community collide to create something unpredictable and vital. In a society that often prizes order and conformity, Japan's underground music festivals persist as dynamic expressions of freedom, creativity, and collective identity.